All right. Okay, guys. Let's hear it for them, everybody. Chris, Mark, and Alex. It's the record company. And, I keep getting phone calls from people that ask me why you guys decided to name the band the record company. So, Chris, you're going to tell me the answer to that one.
Well, we got together because we loved listening to actually, Alex has quite a nice, stirringly inspiring collection of vinyl. And when I first moved to Los Angeles, I grew up in Wisconsin, farm kid, dairy farm kid, and had a dream to go to, city and play music. And that was a big mistake for a while. And then I ran into these guys, and we called ourselves a record company because we were born through listening to that collection. That's one of the reasons. Also, it was just shocking that nobody had taken the name.
Yeah.
We were like, well, I guess we're going to take it. We'll be the most honest record company in the business.
There you go.
And the short answer is, if you'd seen the other options we'd come up with,
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
Pretty, it was pretty embarrassing.
What were they like?
nah, those go to the grave.
Yeah, those
Okay.
we take those to underground.
Okay, we get that. Yeah, so you grew up in the Milwaukee area, Chris, and then you were a big fan of obviously a lot of different music, and then you were in Madison for a long time, which is the way you guys incorporate the blues. Madison is a legendary blues town. There's that song "Madison Blues," which George Thorogood covered, which is written about that town. Guys like Steve Miller and Boz Scaggs went to college there and played in blues bands on their way up. So. Was that something that was really prevalent in that area where people liking the blues? Is that what the kind of thing was for you?
It varied. I just was always an oddball in that regards. When my friends would put on, some modern rock album, I would put on a Ray Charles record, or I'd put on, that was just the way I was leaning, at the time. And when I heard Muddy Waters' Heart Again record, that pretty much ended it for me. That was a time when I was just like, okay, I've got to learn how to play slide guitar because of Johnny Winters playing on that record. And then it took a long time, though, to kind of really just let the influence absolutely shine out. I think had to live a fair amount of, I had to go through some stuff for a while and suffer a little bit to really feel like I had any business letting that influence come through. And it's just rock and roll what we're playing. But, as we know, the roll is where the blues is. That's why the roll's there, right? It's where the swing and the gospel and the soul is. So that's why when people ask us what kind of music do you do, we say rock and roll.
Yeah, which is what you do, which is great. So how did you guys all end up meeting in Los Angeles? Tell me how you guys got together.
I answered an ad on Craigslist, actually. And that's how I met this guy, Chris. Me and the drummer, Mark, we go way back and have been in many bands together, mostly terrible bands. But Chris came over as a result of this Craigslist ad, and we just kind of found we had a lot in common musically, and we just kind of started hanging out, playing records, and we didn't form a band yet or anything like that. We just kind of were friends, and eventually one night came about, and we decided, hey, how about on Tuesday afternoon, why don't we try and just set up some mics in my living room and see what happens? And that was the birth of the whole thing. So.
It's really cool. It is. Now, I know how many different styles of music you guys love and how you incorporate it. On that covers EP that you did, we were talking about it earlier. You did a cover of San Francisco's Finest, the Grateful Dead's New Speedway Boogie, which is just such a great song that people don't bring up often enough from Workman's Dead. And finding out that you did that song, which was about the whole Altamont experience those guys had, blew my mind that you did that song. Was that just one of those records that you loved growing up and decided that was one of those songs you wanted to cover?
The Dead, American Beauty, Working Man's Dead, those are records that we all loved. The Stooges, I saw Iggy with the Stooges with Mike Watt on bass about 2 weeks before we formed the band, and I left that show with the enthusiasm of a 15-year-old teenager in my heart just burning. I was like, I've got to form a rock and roll band. I got to play it.
Yeah.
It's like,
But you have to keep your shirt on.
but I have to, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't, yeah.
Iggy can still get away with that, because
We'd
he still looks
be trying
really
to
good.
find our audience if I didn't. I'm just saying that. But so there were a lot of influences: early punk rock, early rock and roll, blues, gospel, the Dead. It's funny because we're talking about one of my favorite blues artists is Jimmy Reed, and Al picked up a bootleg of them from like their living room sessions that he got a couple years ago with the Pigpen era, stuff, with them just jamming in their living room, and they were doing Jimmy Reed covers, and I was like, makes sense, because I mean that's what we love. So if your heroes love it, you're probably gonna love it too. And we were always the kind of guys that, if you liked Led Zeppelin, you wanted to know who Led Zeppelin was listening to and who that person was listening to, and you go all the way back to the Alan Lomax recordings, basically in field hollers and stuff, and there's nowhere else to go after that.
Which is great. And
Yeah.
I know you guys are big John Lee Hooker fans too, and mid-period Stones, when they were like Mick Taylor, kind of that bluesy era of that stuff.
We
as
love
well.
the early Stones too, though, like
Yeah.
12x5 and Stones Now.
Yeah.
Like Kinks, that stuff. We listen to that. That's the kind of stuff that on Friday night when we get off tour, if there's a weekend, much to the chagrin of our my wife and our significant others, we all end up just going back to Alex's living room, and that's, we crack a few beers and we'll end up
Pull out the
listening to,
vinyl, right?
Stones Now and whatever else he's found that week at Amoeba. So
Which is great. Isn't it great to have Amoeba wherever you are? You know what I mean? It's amazing. But all right, so tell me about the fact that you guys there was a lot of placement for your songs. I heard a bunch of your stuff in a lot of different TV shows and stuff. Was that because people were hearing your music as you were playing around Los Angeles and becoming fans of the band, kind of as you're picking up fans?
I think it's location of where we were helped. That helped us in a way. We also were fortunate enough to meet some really talented people that could see where we could fit in to a television show or a movie, and so we were fortunate that way. We worked with one guy specifically named Mike, who he just kind of really loved the band, and he was very passionate about it, and he got to understand it, and we had a lot of success with it. So that was really a nice shot in the arm, financially, especially because we never did anything that we didn't believe in. Everything that we were in was a show we liked or a movie that we thought was cool. But it definitely, in this day and age, it can really help an artist out. It helped us stay on the road a little longer. It helped us go full time earlier than we would have otherwise been able to do, which helps you gain momentum when you're putting all your energy into this thing you love so much. You can really dedicate your time to it and take that leap of faith and say, okay, making just enough where I'm not going to be homeless, or I'm at least going to be on the road slightly homeless, but I'll be able to feed myself and whatever and get things moving. So that's where I think the real value in all that was. Plus, it gets you out there too.
When you can buy that third ramen noodle.
You can buy, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's when it's
Good little
happening, man.
beef jerky to ride,
Mark.
shotgun with that ramen, yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you know.
By the way, you realize that it's this beautiful little girl's first concert ever.
I know,
Let's
I
come
was
see the
looking-
record company. Let's hear it for everybody.
I met
Look,
her in the
she's
hallway.
adorable. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. So you guys are signed to Concord now, and the
Yes.
album is called "I'll Give It to You." It's your latest record, and
Give it back to you, yep.
and I'd like you to do a couple more songs for us, if
Sure.
that's cool, guys. You good with that?
We'd love to.
Well, guys, thanks so much for coming and doing the Levi's Lounge.
Thank you.
Great to
My
have you
pleasure.
here. We love the record, and that's why we're playing it all the time. So it's good to see you guys do it here.
Well, and I wanted to, if it's okay, I wanted to say just whether it makes it on the air or not, I want to thank KFOG for, getting in on this music and playing new music by artists that are. I mean, we're not a household name. We're got 3 guys in a minivan. This is the entire operation here. There's no road crew following us around at this point. So to get the kind of support that we've gotten from a station like this is really something that's not lost on us, and we appreciate it.
Oh,
a
thank
lot.
you. Thank you very much. And you also say that for the audience, too. The KFOG
Thank
audience
you all. Yeah, of course.
loves music, loves supporting new artists like yourselves. All right, everybody, let's hear it for Chris, Mark, and Alex, the record company.